So today's meeting between Mark Carney and the Orange Cheetah wasn't just a diplomatic formality. It was a live action example of what happens when one person shows up to actually talk policy and the other person shows up just to hear himself speak. So let's start with the tariffs. The Orange Cheetah made it very clear that there's nothing Carney or Canadians can do to lift U.S. tariffs on Canada.
To clarify, Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
He rambled on yet again about how America is somehow subsidizing Canada, claiming that we cost the U.S. over $200 billion a year, which is complete and utter fiction.
No, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing, but we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number.
There's no evidence, not from trade data, not from economists, not from reality, to support that number. It's just Trump math, where facts go to get unalived. Then, of course, came the 51st state fantasy, because yes, he actually did go there again. The Orange Cheeto suggested that it would be so beautiful if Canada got rid of that artificially drawn line and become part of the U.S. Now, thankfully Mark Carney shut that down, stating firmly that Canada is not for sale.
Also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation, when it's together. I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said that's the way it was meant to be. But I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
But Trump couldn't resist. He leaned in, grinning, and said, "Never say never."
I say, never say never. I've had many, many things that were not doable, and they ended up being doable.
That right there should be a warning to every Canadian that this man does not respect our sovereignty. But he didn't stop, because he never does, and he dominated like 80% of the conversation, and Carney barely got a word in, and Trump wandered into his usual chaos tour, Yemen, China, Ukraine, and naturally Governor Newsom, because apparently he still can't stop obsessing over him. He even bragged about turning on the tap during the California fires, a claim that's just flat out false. The water they sent came after the fires had already destroyed communities, and even then, it didn't even reach the areas that needed it. It was just a headline grab and definitely not a solution.
Just got him a lot of water. I sent in people to open up that water because he refused to do it. And we just got him a lot of water. If they would have had that water, and if they would have done what I said to do, they wouldn't have had the fires.
Then came the Canada bashing, where Trump took cheap shots at our car industry, saying that we want to make our own cars. We don't want cars made in Canada. He even said that we don't want Canadian steel or aluminum because we want to do it ourselves.
We want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things. because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And
He whined that he doesn't want to do business with Canada because we do all the business with the US, not the other way around, which is completely wrong. Trade between our countries is mutually massive, balanced, and vital to both of our economies. Then came the weird stuff. He brought up Wayne Gretzky, who, as you guys know, is the Canadian hockey player that's now turned into a giant MAGA fan. And Trump praised him like it was supposed to earn Canadian points, but it didn't.
I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of respect. He is a big, tough cookie, too.
Then, when he was asked what he actually wants from Canada in terms of concession, his answer was friendship.
Top concession you want out of Canada. The top concession you want out of Canada.
Concession?
Yes,
Friendship.
but that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada.
I mean, if all he wants is friendship, then maybe stop sounding like you're always threatening to annex us. That might help with the friendship part. But because it wouldn't be a Orange Cheeto speech without personal attacks, he of course found time to bash both Biden and Obama, and he ranted about Obama's presidential library, saying that it's a mess because Obama only hired woke people instead of tough construction workers. And it was so weird. I wish I was making this up.
I mean, look, President Obama, and if he wanted help, I'd give him help because I'm a really good builder and I build on time, on budget. He's building his library in Chicago. It's a disaster. And he said something to the effect, I only want DEI, I only want woke. He wants woke people to build it. Well, he got woke people, and they have massive cost overruns. The job is stopped. I don't know, it's a disaster. And I don't like that happening because I think it's bad for the presidency that a thing like that should happen. He's got a library that's a disaster. And he wanted to be very politically correct, and he didn't use good, hard, tough, mean construction workers that I love, Marco. I love those construction workers. But he didn't want construction workers. He wanted people that never did it before, and he's got a disaster in his hands.
At the end of the day, this was not a policy meeting. It was a circus. Trump used it to grandstand and spread misinformation and flex the kind of authoritarian energy that should deeply concern every Canadian. Now, Carney did what he could, but when one side's playing chess and the other side's just smashing the board while yelling about aluminum and Wayne Gretzky, it's kind of hard to call it a fair match. Now, look, Canadians need to be wide awake right now because Trump isn't just playing to his base, he's laying the groundwork for treating Canada like a second-class partner. And if people like Danielle Smith are cheering him on, then we need to speak up louder than ever right now.